Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out the classic QWOP, a game that you've probably heard of by now. It's a low expectation and Olympic running physics simulation where we're going to be manipulating our character through using the Q, W, and OP keys, hence the name, to run our character through a 100-meter dash. Now, essentially this game is all about keeping your expectations low. Like I said earlier, you're probably not going to make it through the whole 100 meters, and if you've seen our performances on games like QWOP and JERP, which are the horse running and mountain climbing simulators respectively, both of those have a very similar thing to them, but this is the original QWOP from Foddy.net. So if you haven't seen it, this is an absolutely addictive game. It's just so silly, and we're going to be falling on our face a whole bunch. So why don't we jump right into things? It's incredible that it's taken me this many episodes to actually navigate my way over to this browser site and actually give it a shot for you guys live. But here we go. We're going to use our Q and W and O and P, manipulating our character to try and run forward. There'll be an exhilarating little rush, and we made it 1.1 meters, and then my leg collapsed over on itself, which is, a pretty low bar that we've set for ourselves, and, well, basically exactly the same there. There are a few ways to kind of cheese the system, one of which is to just use your thighs exclusively, and then you can kind of do this little shuffle dance, which will get you pretty far, actually. I think, honestly, if you do it right for long enough, you could probably do the whole 100 meters like this, but that's going to be a long crawl, and I'm not sure if anybody wants to necessarily watch this. So I think part of the reason that games like this are so addictive and fun is because they're bite-sized, they're ridiculous to look at. I mean, look at what our character is doing here. He's trying to run a 100-meter dash on the bottom of his heel and the front of his knee. And it would only be funnier if it was actually, like, realistically modeling what was going on to his flesh and bone as this was taking place, because he would have scraped a pretty good amount of his knee off by now. His heel would also probably get quite a once-over, too, but the whole premise is kind of ridiculous and silly, and I think this is the type of thing that I think really makes a game easy to jump into and keep playing over and over again. I really can't believe that I've gotten this far like this. Eventually, my center of balance is going to get off, and then we're going to fall backward. But once your head or your arm or your chest or your back hits the ground, that's over for you. And I think this is probably the furthest I've ever made it in QWOP. I've never tried to cheese the game like this. I've seen people actually run on their feet a couple of times, which is outstanding and crazy, and I don't know how they do it. Uh-oh. There we go. Let's just use our knee here as leverage. Ideally, you would want to actually run normally if you can, but it's not really something that I really understand how to do. I think you want to alternate with, like, the two inner and the two outer buttons, so like W, O, and QP at the same time, and if you can pull off the right timing of those, then you may actually be able to do it. I'm going to be laughing my butt off if I can make it through the entire race. I say this like there's someone competing against me. Imagine that. Multiplayer QWOP would be so fun. Getting everybody together in a big line and watching them all flail about. Imagine if the depth of field effect was going and you've got all your friends behind you off into the distance, you know, like 6 or 8 deep, and all of them are flailing about at the same time, and you can just see the whole line of them going down into the background, just progressively spasming along on the ground, trying to make their way forward. And then maybe have like an overhead view so you can see what the whole track looks like. I can't believe we've made it 32 meters now on the front of my knee and my heel. I think this technique is OP, so I recommend not doing this. You can also get, aside from playing this free on your browser, you can also get QWOP on your iOS device or your Android device too. So if this is something that looks like a good time waster for you, which I would definitely recommend that it is, you can feel free to try that out. This is quite a precarious way that I'm sort of suspending myself in the air here. I think there's even people that have done tricks with this character where you can like kind of spin up into the air, maybe do a backflip. I'm certainly not going to win any time records, am I? I kind of want to mix things up a little bit, but I'm afraid if I try to do that too much, I'm just going to throw off the center of balance, which I had so carefully perfected. Or maybe if I do it just right, I can even make it better and I can make more progress. I'm trying to use my back leg to lock in, and then my forward leg to, it's sort of like a ratchet situation going on. So we're 42 meters, or 44 meters now, 45. Still going strong. I'm pretty sure I could actually solve this problem, and by this problem I mean this physics and mechanics problem that I've set before myself as to if I can use this. Oh, I've got to do a hurdle. Well, I guess we'll just kind of like kick that along. If I could just kind of like do one of these over it, that would work for me. Or maybe we'll just take it with us all the way to the end. Is this possibility for us? Can we do it? I'm totally making something that should normally be pretty hilarious, and I'm turning it into something tedious, which is the last thing you would ever want to do. There we go. I made it past the hurdle. I'm sure there's going to be more of those. Can you imagine you were actually running a 100-meter dash like that, and then before you is a hurdle, and you'd have to, like, knock it over and then slowly crawl over the top of it. I can't even jump over those hurdles like normally, like actually in reality. I think I had to do that once in high school, and it was a pretty scary affair. I don't think my legs go up that high when I'm trying to run and jump at the same time. It's incredible what Olympic runners do in reality. This man, well, it's incredible what he does as well, just in a totally different way. I mean, look at his hip. It's not entirely in the socket. His knee joint is not functioning as I would expect a knee joint to probably function. Dude is a champ, though. He is, for what he lacks in his ability to walk normally, he makes up for it in absolute endurance and flexibility. I think he should get the gold medal for flexibility, if anything. And patience. I mean, putting up with me scraping his knee like that. It's not easy to do. And I love how the game just keeps teasing us with that little bit of like a hit of almost like, oh, you might be going right, you might be making some noise and making the theme music jump in. But since I'm just so terrible, I just keep not doing that, and then it just goes away again. We're mostly all the way there now. This is absolutely insane. Am I going to beat QWOP for the internet? I've also heard people say, actually, QWOP. I'm not sure what is the proper pronunciation. But regardless, well, it is identifiable as a sort of a subgenre of games now. They're like games with 4 letters in the name that all involve physics, ragdoll, and some sort of combination of pressing buttons to do something silly and ridiculous. I thought QWOP was actually probably the silliest one. It was sort of like a reimagination of this one, only by adding 4 legs instead of 2, you take some of the stability issue away. And plus, you know, being a horse makes everything kind of funnier, right? And then they added that whole, like, old English bent to it, and that was pretty good. Oh, I've got some momentum. There we go. Oh, I actually had the music kick in for a second there. Oh, don't mess with me now. We've gotten so far. And then, of course, we've got Jerp. And I have done videos on both of those, like I think I said earlier. And Jerp, I think, was the most playable, or GURP. And that was the one that was like a mountain climbing simulator, where essentially you were going to be grabbing handholds with the keys as often as you can, and trying to ascend to the highest peak of the mountain. And there's actually, like, birds that mess with you and stuff. But the trick is that you've got to swing around a lot of the time to try and find the right momentum and the right angles to be able to reach each handhold. And sometimes you have these little, like, Sylvester Stallone moments. Oh, well, I guess this is where I end. Jump. Go. Yay. You're a national hero. You ran to the end of the track and jumped. In the end, you went 100.2 meters. Well, I've finally done it. I've beaten QWOP. I've done it for the internet, I've recorded it, but I did it in the scuzziest, grossest way possible, so back to the start we go, and I'm not actually going to do that again, but it is probably worth showing some of the other silly things you can do. Well, that's not quite it. You can definitely enter the Ministry of Funny Walks in this, and you can also, ooh, that was a rough fall. You can also make some backward progress if you're good enough, and can maybe do a little bit of moonwalking. Yeah, I would love to see someone make a compilation of, like, Michael Jackson moves set to some of Michael Jackson's music, which, of course, you would never be able to upload that to YouTube. But still, it would be hilarious to see, you know, the moonwalk and, like, the various shuffly moves that you could see done here with ragdoll physics. And then, of course, the ensuing fall would be pretty hilarious. And, of course, you got to add a hee-hee at the end. You know, just for good measure. Oh, well. He also makes this really apathetic little grunt sometimes, which is just hilarious to me as well. Oh, there's actually a block behind us. I didn't know that. He's just like, I don't know what that's about. Like, oh, I can't run any further, so I guess I'll just grunt. But that is QWOP in a nutshell. It's a hilarious game. I definitely think you should all play it, and if you haven't already, well, I don't know what rock you've been hiding under, but it's time to come out and go try it out, because it is totally free. At least for the browser version. I'm not sure what's up with the iOS and Android versions, but I can't imagine that it's all that expensive. So go check it out. See if you can beat it legitimately. I would love to see, well, or hear your stories if you have any particularly interesting things that have happened to you in the world of QWOP. Or if you're actually, oh my god, what did his leg just do? Poor man. Take him to the hospital. Yeah, if you have any heroic stories of becoming a national hero and pulling off this 100-meter sprint the proper way. Oh, that was almost a sweet karate move there. Oh my god, his leg. I am so sorry, man. Well, I guess that'll be the end of this episode. Rather short one. But I just figured we had to cover this little treasure that's been lurking about. Well, lurking's not the right word, but you know what I mean. It's been around in the scene for a pretty long time, and I think it's fairly influential. And I think it's also a really fun thing to do in general, so give it a try if you haven't, and let me know what you think in the comments, as well as, of course, leave any support if you're still enjoying the series, as always, and feel free to check out some of my other social media information, stuff like my Twitter, my Facebook, my Twitch page, and, of course, indie-impressions.com, which is where I post, well, every day's episode, actually. Over 600 episodes of Indie Impressions, all sorted and categorized over there for you, so check them out if you like. And feel free to stop back again tomorrow. YouTube.com/RockLeeSmile is where you'll find a new episode every single day. So I will see you then, and I hope you have a lovely night, and pardon my flailing as I crash my head into the ground. Alright, talk to you guys later.